this computer. And then has it started recording? Oh, yep, okay, it has started recording.
Okay, great. Cool. Um,
Okay.
okay,
Okay.
we should,
Yep, admit. Okay.
oh, and we can start presenting and going,
Hi.
I think. Okay, so, feel free to take a seat if you want, by the way. So thank you to the guys, to the people who joined us in person. Thank you to everybody who made it online. This is also being recorded, so obviously if you're, just so everyone's aware of that. And hello to anybody who is watching this from the recording. This is probably, I'm going to estimate around, we're going to try and keep it to around 40 minutes because of Zoom restrictions. But if you do have any questions as we're going along, ask them in the chat or just say something and unmute and we'll answer them. Okay, so let's start going.
Okay. So, hello.
Hi, welcome. Come on in. Um, so
Introductions.
yes, um,
Okay.
we have a slideshow that is linked in our
In the
link tree.
Zoom.
In our Zoom and in our link tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
There's okay. Okay.
So, hi, my name is Alyssa Liu. I work in 3D Enthusiasts of Davis, which is a 3D modeling club at school. I'm a second year design major that is interested in going into motion design and advertising using 3D modeling in that. And I've been doing it for around 4 years, give or take, since COVID. Right now, I'm most interested in learning about lighting and compositing, also getting better at materials. And in real life, I generally practice with 3D with the intention of using it for sort of graphic design purposes, social media, posters, and the like.
Okay. And then on to me. And all right. My name is Alan. I'm a second year design major interested in product and architecture visualization. And my 3D modeling interest areas slash purpose is hard surface modeling, as you can see in the examples. And I'm mainly focused on photorealism and making 3D assets for advertisements. Okay, let's move on.
I'll pause a little bit here. So both of us are part of the leadership for 3D Enthusiasts of Davis, which is, if you haven't been, go check it out. But to add on to our qualifications and so you guys know more about who's teaching the class, it is us two, as far as we know right now, who will be the class instructors, graders, etc., go-tos leading this directed group study. Part of the qualifications is that because we've been leading this club for over a year now, we do have experience trying to get, people from beginner to knowing something about the basics of Blender. And another part of that is that we're also going to be leading a 5-week long program at a local high school starting next week, actually. And so those are the two sort of main pools where we're drawing our experience in teaching 3D modeling along with our experience in doing 3D modeling as a hobby. Okay, so yeah, class structure. How is this going to go?
All right. Yeah. Also credit to Shadwins for the sunflower. He's one of the club members. Oh, another person. Okay, so our goal is to teach you 3D modeling for like general purposes and just learn the free 3D software Blender. It's not a specialized class for like just focusing on CAD, 3D printing, for those who are like trying to get into like character modeling, animation, texturing. It's not going to focus only on that. It's aimed at teaching beginners like the full interface and like capability. So you're gonna learn a bit of like everything.
Right. And throughout the slideshow, you will see like random examples of 3D modeling that are pulled from members of our club and ourselves just to spice things up. Yeah.
Moving on, class expectations. So each week there's going to be 2 classes, 2 hours long each. So total 4 hours a week. It's going to be an in-person class. You have to be there in person, or else you're probably not going to be able to learn and follow along. And it's a pass no pass graded class. And
Yeah, I can explain this part. So it's pass no pass graded, right? So everybody's got a certain amount of units in classes they're allowed. You know, check your individual situation. If you're close to reaching that pass no pass and you'd rather keep it, then you know, maybe just skip this class for now. But otherwise, what we mean by pass no pass is this is really graded around participation and effort. So kind of think more like high school. We just want you guys to be there and to learn, and we want to help as much as we can in offering a sort of formal structure for that. We're not grading based off sort of, you know, typical like college classes where the focus is on the results, like how much do you know in the exam, how good your project is. As long as we see you've tried and that you've been in class, you're going to pass. We don't want to stress you guys out more than we have to. That said, the baseline expectations we have, if you miss more than 3 classes without, you know, letting us know before and arranging some kind of way to make up for it, that's going to be obviously, hi, welcome. Take a seat. We have our slideshow. We already started, but we'll catch you up as it goes.
you can join the Zoom and just catch up, and let's move on to the next slide.
Hold on.
Right.
And so what we mean by you can't miss more than 3 classes, that's because that's 6 hours, right, of in-person instruction. Depending on your level, we understand some of you guys, like Dylan in the room here, are obviously more experienced and can do without the 6 hours. But if you aren't, right, that's going to be very difficult, and it's going to take extra time to have to do like tutorials on your own, virtually, remote, etc. So that's why we say that's one of the ways that you could go no pass if you didn't let us know. Another way is if you had missed more than 3 assignments. Again, our grading here is just saying like, did you turn it in? Yes. Did you do what we asked for? Like, you know, make the house purple, whatever requirements? Yes. Okay, great. Then you pass. But if you're continually like missing these assignments, right? Then again, it's just like, we're not reaching our goal where we want each person to learn. And so, yeah, but definitely we understand everybody's got their own circumstances. So if you do have other things that you want to like kind of talk to us about or do whatever, we are so willing to arrange accommodations. We just want to help everybody kind of start actually learning Blender and 3D modeling on their own.
Okay. Moving on. So classwork, homework. The workload is, well, for 3 units, it's going to be like 9 hours a week. And most of the assignments you can complete in class. These are 2-hour-long classes, and we're going to usually be going over the assignments as like lectures, you know? And so these are weekly general homework assignments, and they're just going to like reinforce the concepts taught in lectures. So you're going to be applying what you learned in lectures for your assignments. And there's going to be one individual project of your choice using 3D. And this is going to be like a quarter-long project. And these projects will require work outside of a class. You're not going to be able to complete it in class and also do the assignments unless you're already at like, say, intermediate level. And so a couple hours every week is the estimate of how long you're going to have to spend to do the project, depending on how complex you want your project to be and what your skill level is.
Yeah, adding on to that. So again, 3 units, 9 hours. 4 of those hours should be that you were just in class, right? I'm ignoring the fact of, let's say we dismiss early or something like a fire alarm. That's like 4 units that is practically baked in. The other 5, you know, obviously just like with most classes, it's up to you whether you use all those 5, you go beyond those, or do you do less? Like we said, as long as you've done something, you've done some amount of learning, then it's a pass for us. The assignments will have the scope to work more or less according to each person's schedule.
Okay, so this is continued. So course content, it's going to be an intro class. Of course, it's going to be intro to like modeling, sculpting, animation, environments, rendering, all of those like sort of things. And there was a question on if you could learn how to combine 3D and 2D graphics together. And yes, Blender does have that ability. You can use Grease, like their inbuilt tool, like Grease Pencil, which is for like 2D graphics, and combine that with 3D objects. And you can also do that through compositing. So there are a couple options to achieve that. Then grading is attendance, turning in your assignments, and individual project check-ins.
Yeah, and so the questions here is like, who's grading and more teachers, right? So the short answer to that, it's probably going to be us too. The more teachers part, some of you or the people who are watching may actually be at a level where you're skilled enough that you would rather teach instead of be in this class, because like we said, this is aimed at beginners, right? We can't, it's very difficult to keep up classes aimed at lots of different skill levels. If you are one of those people and you would still like to help, and you are advanced enough, send us an email at 3D Enthusiasts of Davis, and we'll get back to you based off of there. You can respond to that. And yeah, so Blender
Okay,
and Maya.
so I can explain, so Liana had a question on the skill set relation of Blender and Maya. And so Blender and Maya, they're both modeling tools that you are like polymodeling, and they're it's Maya is like the industry standard, and Blender is more aimed towards like people who are just trying to learn,
Hobbyists.
hobbyists. Yeah, and it's free. And so the concepts you're going to learn will transfer over to Maya, because you're going to want to have like quad topology in both Blender, both Maya, and your like say principles of animation, that's going to be same thing from Blender to Maya. It's just that the hotkeys and the tools, they're going to be different in like Blender versus Maya. So suppose like you wanna like, I don't know, bevel. Oh, actually, no, beveling is the same in Blender and Maya. But yeah, there are just some tools that are linked to different keys.
And I'll get onto that. If you are interested in learning Maya, CDM 130 is actually specifically taught in Maya. It is an official class led by Professor Michael Neff, and that focuses on character animation. So I would check that out if you want to learn that software specifically. Like we said, nobody teaches Blender, so we are teaching Blender. Um, and we can go over more of the syllabus later on, but let's go to the next slide for
Alright.
now.
Okay.
Okay, so like I said, us two, hi, are the main life in-person instructors. We've given you a little rundown of our backgrounds, where we come from, what we've done, why we think we were qualified in the first place to teach 3D modeling. Generally, we're not gonna reinvent the wheel. Just like you see in your traditional like professor and TA relationships, each class, one of us will be at the front of the room, giving a live demo of whatever we're teaching that day, which might be, how to create material, how to use the sculpting interface, how to use the general Blender interface. And the other one will switch off and just be walking around, kind of getting in touch, because we understand a lot of it is people run into their own problems to help with that. The way this class is going to be hosted, preferably Canvas or Google Classroom if it's not possible. We're looking into those options. We'll take on one soon. And we're also going to have a private Discord server that will add you guys as you start turning in the official enrollments. And that's where we'll just send out reminders like, hey, homework is due tomorrow, or have just, like kind of help info sessions if you need help understanding a concept in class.
Registration. Okay, so the arts office, oh dear, they're issuing the CRN Monday, February 5th, the first day of registration. And we're going to have you email us your form that you fill out. We're going to provide you the form to fill out. We've already filled out parts of the information. We just need your details. And then after you email us the form, we'll email you the CRN and the Discord server and the Google Classroom link if we're using Google Classroom. And then you're going to type in the CRN into Schedule Builder and request 3 units. And so finally, we'll be sending the form you filled out to our sponsor, Professor Snyder. And once he approves it, you will be officially enrolled, and you will earn the credit if you succeed in class. Yep.
Yeah, and so, and just addressing some of the questions people asked us, you may have had situations where it's like you signed up for a class and then maybe not enough people enrolled in it and you got notification it's been canceled and you had to scramble to find a replacement class. That won't happen. This class is happening. Either way, it doesn't really matter the amount of enrollment. It does matter, so to speak, in the sense we actually unfortunately do have a sort of max cap of students just because right now there's only 2 of us and we want to make sure we can give each person as much help as they need to really properly learn about it. And also there's physical limitations in room size, and also the amount of computers we have for people who do want to use those computers because they may be better than their personal devices. So the first 30-ish, I would say, maybe 35, depending on how much extra seating we could arrange. That's really the maximum that we'll take if we're lucky enough to reach that cap. And so if it does happen that it is full by the time you send in your form, we'll email you back and you can decide whether you'd like to have a wait list or just like, maybe wait for the next time this gets offered. And again, like if you do want to help us teach, just email us and we'll see about the next steps.
Okay, so miscellaneous FAQ time. So this stuff was pulled from the interest form you filled out. We're going to be answering some of the most common questions you asked. And so for units, is it upper div or lower div? You can choose when you're registering if you want to take the upper div version or the lower div version, but it's going to be the same.
Yeah, I actually don't think you need to complete 84 units for our specific credit number. But yeah, you can do upper or lower div. It's not going to apply for art like AH or visual literacy credits, even though it is sponsored by the design department, because this is, it's like a lab or an internship. It's like a variable unit. It's not officially standardized. And if you're a design major and you want to know, will this apply to your requirements for specific upper division design classes or lower division design classes? Yeah, it should apply. But again, it won't fulfill those major requirements for you to take classes like DES 14 or DES 16.
And then so pass no pass grades, as you already know, it's pass no pass. We're required to make it pass no pass, and you just have to show up, do the work, and like put some effort in. And then class structure compared to club meetings. So some of you may be from our club. And so the difference with this class compared to the club meetings is that there's going to be a stronger emphasis on basics. We're going to teach you the basics so you can have like a stronger foundation on like learning more advanced concepts. So like, there's not going to be like where in the club meetings, say you're struggling to keep up because you don't know what tool this one of the instructors is using. We're going to teach you all of the tools and everything you'll need to learn to follow along. And there's going to be more guidance as there's going to be 2 of us and it's going to be more personal. And there's going to be assignments and longer projects. We don't really do long projects in our club, but for this class, it's going to be 10 weeks and there's going to be that individual project. And then there were people asking about group projects, and
the answer to that, yes. Like I said, the individual project, you propose that based off your personal interests and what you want to use 3D for. And if you are at a point where you've tried it out before and you have a ambitious sort of goal where you're like, I want to, do a fan animation of a specific fandom or whatever, and I'd like to collaborate with somebody else who can animate while I model it or something, sure, as long as you give us just the rough plan and schedule of how you guys are going to be working together and making this thing happen.
And then there's also going to be more of an expectation for you to participate and put in effort compared to club meetings where you can just show up and like hang out,
Yeah. The biggest thing, honestly, and it's not on here, it's going to be held at a different time from club meetings. So it's related in the sense we happen to have ties to it, but it's not affiliated at all with anything else that will be going on in meetings, insofar in the sense that if you want to, you can show up to both, but otherwise this is a scholastic thing that will be for units.
Okay, so some people had also asked about device specs. We're going to be using the computer lab in Cruise and they have the iMacs. So if you don't have a device or like good enough device, you can use the iMac to follow along with our lectures. But if you do have a device that's better than the iMac or like comparable to it, you can bring it and use it. And we're most likely not going to do a lot of like photorealism, like cycles rendering, or not a ton of volumetrics stuff because we don't really have the GPU required for those like intense requirements. And so we might touch on it, but we won't really focus on that. And will this course be offered again? Maybe. It depends on how this spring quarter class turns out.
Yeah, and so just like, we're just giving you information about everything, right? Do whatever works the best for each person's individual schedule. It might happen, it might not. It depends a lot on outside influences. Don't leave just yet because we're actually not done. But I will put this here just so you guys can start going and looking at this. And hopefully we have the slideshow linked in chat if you scroll up above, and we'll start talking about some of the other things since we have some more time. Let's go to the FAQ doc.
All right, FAQ.
Oh yeah, and let's just maybe re-put in the link in chat,
Yeah.
just in case anybody came in afterwards and wasn't able to access it.
Okay. And then also someone had a question about the scheduling.
We'll talk about
Yeah, we will talk about that later.
that. Okay, so let's actually go back to the slideshow. Can you type in or click on the tiny URL?
Yeah.
Okay, so this tiny URL links you to a folder, and this should be for public access viewing. If you can't get in, send us a chat message. What this has is a slideshow that we've been presenting off of, a document, and also that form that you're going to have to fill out to enroll. The form is, so I'll walk you through it. We have instructions on the document as well, but the first thing you want to do is change this name to first, last, whatever your actual name is, so we can keep track of who's signing up. This first page is just, you can read it on your own time. It's not that important. The second page is also not that important. It's just basic understanding of what this is. The third page is where all the things you need to fill out start coming in. I've already crossed out 197T, 198F, 199, and 199F because those don't apply to our class. But you have to check mark what you're looking to get if you want lower div 99 credit or upper div 198 credit. I've already checked out the academic quarter, spring of 2024, and then obviously the student name, the signature, the address, phone, all that stuff is up to you to fill out. And you can use something like Adobe Acrobat or an online service like PDF Express or Photoshop even. You just have to put it in or print it out and scan it, etc. University regulations limit students to 5 units of 199. That doesn't apply to us because this is 198. Although I will say, just keep aware if you are maybe doing this for like a lab internship or something like that, that also has you doing one of these special kind of courses, maybe just double check with them or double check with us if you're worried about that. The undergraduate units, that's kind of just the preliminary. It's okay if you haven't completed 84 undergrad units. You can just check whatever that is. The qualifications goals, again, this is just the basic sort of class. You can read through that at your leisure. And so once you complete page 3, right, save the thing, send it to us with the changed name, and then we'll have our professor sign accordingly, and we'll go from there to confirm whether or not you've been enrolled. So that's one of the other docs. The other doc we have is a Google Doc, right? And so this is for people who maybe just respond to information that's written a lot better than hearing it presented, or just need a control F things. And this goes into a lot more in depth into some of these things that we were talking about before. Mainly, here's the major question, right? That people are probably wondering, what are the actual details? So let me scroll down to that equivalent and start explaining that. So the issue is we only get the CRN starting Monday, February 5th. We've asked the office, just government bureaucracy, they won't give it to us until then. What can we do? We're the little men. We have to play by the rules. Some of you guys actually may have really early pastimes because you actually are graduate students or fourth years with enough academic units to account for that. The best we can say is, you know, we will send that CRN out as soon as you give us the filled out form on a case by case basis. And then once you give us the form, we'll email you back within 24 hours and you can get that logged into Schedule Builder and add those 3 units. The other question that you need to plan out your schedules is what time would this be? So it's confirmed it's not going to be a like 1 hour and 3 hour or 4 hours. It's 2 and 2 sessions of 2 hours. But the timing is not set because UC Davis bureaucracy, again, they won't give us the details of when we were available to schedule until Friday. So the earliest that we can get it to you guys and figure out ourselves what timings that we're looking at is going to be probably over the weekend, say Saturday, Sunday, you know, before the registration period opens. Like Alan mentioned, we have 2 options to look at because we want to make sure this course is as accessible to everybody as possible. And in order to do that, we need the computer lab to give us the good enough computers to run Blender. So it's either going to be in the SEC or Cruise. And based off the interest form sort of responses, we'll be looking at that to decide what times that we should be doing it based off what people said. But again, if you know like this will definitely work for you, send us the form. Otherwise, you know, hold off until the Sunday. We'll announce it on our Instagram if you haven't been following us there. It's at 3D Enthusiasts of Davis. And we'll also send out another email to all of you guys who entered through the general email. So if you did not get that email, say something in chat and we'll add you into that mailing list. But that's where it stands. Yeah, there's some other things. Yeah, here, this is like the step-by-step, like download the form, you know, everything, et cetera. This is, it's a lot of extra work, we understand, compared to a normal class, but it is what it is. And I think we've gone through most of this. And yeah. Okay, yeah, I think that's about it for us. Let's see. Okay, so we got a question in chat and we'll open it up for questions soon. How can the course count as a design major requirement beyond the 180 unit requirement? Isn't listed on lists? Okay, so basically as a variable unit course, this is generally what you would do if you had an internship or something, right? Like let's say you had scored an internship outside with a graphic design company or something, and you said, I want to get credit for this because I'm spending a lot of time on it. How do I do that? School credit, right? You would find a professor to sponsor it. In this case, it's essentially similar, but you're not actually getting professional experience. You're getting experience in a different area of learning that wouldn't otherwise be offered. So it should count to the design major because it's sponsored by a design professor in that department. But you're right. Okay, 10 minutes. But you're right that, that it wouldn't count as a major requirement, like I mentioned before. So it's not an equivalent to DES 15, 16, 14, or 21. It just happens to be an extra bonus if you're in that major. And I'm fairly certain, I will double check on this with the register to make sure, but I'm fairly certain there's always ways to double check and ensure like this doesn't get counted for design units if you don't want it to, and only gets counted to the 180 unit count. But I hope that clarifies, and if not, send us an email. So we've got extra time with the people in person, but for the people on Zoom, our meeting ends in 9 minutes. So put in all your questions now, or whatever you'd like to know, and we will go from there. And thank you so much for being interested in the first place and joining. It means a lot. Very cool.
All right. Okay. When you mention group projects, okay.
When you mention group projects, does that mean group projects are an option for us or required? So over the weekend, right, we'll send out the actual time details. Again, that's out of our control, but as soon as we can figure that out, we'll send it to help you guys out as well. Along with that, we'll also send our syllabus, because we're trying to finalize that out. And yeah, again, normally professors don't do this, but you guys deserve as much information as possible, before making the decision whether you want to enroll or not. In the syllabus, we'll talk more about this, but basically there's two assignment ideas, right? One is basically a general, like, here are the requirements, and then you do what we asked you to do. The other one is you take charge and you lead the initiative. And that's the individual project. That can be a group project if you want it to be. It's not required, but the individual project is meant for you to tell us what you actually want to do and learn and build that into your schedule to get experience. So if you're really into 3D modeling for cosplay and you're like, I want my individual project to be 3D printing out, like this prop for a character. Yeah, you can do that as long as we just have, sort of like an idea of how you're going to feasibly do that, how you're going to model it, what accesses or resources maybe we can help provide you with, etc. Again, like I said, if you're trying to learn Blender because you want to do graphic design and you're like, I just want to add something for my portfolio, my individual project is going to be like a series of posters with assets I've created showing off 3D modeling. Yeah, totally. You can do that as well. It's really up to you and whatever you want to do. We'll just check on that as it goes. But yeah, any other questions? Go for it. Thank you for coming. No worries. Absolutely.
Right.
I'll go into 1:40 and we can play good music and chill in the meantime. And you guys can leave if you don't have any questions as well. Or start asking in
Do
person.
y'all have questions in person?
While we're here, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Yeah.
I still have to check if I'll be able to take this class.
No, yeah, totally. Yeah, of course. I hope you learn Blender sometime soon. It's a lot of fun once you get into it.
Right.
Hasta la vista.
You're just standing.
You've been standing for the whole time. I'm impressed.
Oh, okay.
Very cool.
All right.
You can sign into the Zoom on like your like through the SSO.
Yeah,